Hello, everybody, and welcome to another show with myself, Gary, from Alternative Interactions. And
Isabella from Tarot by Isabella.
um, today we're going to be talking about and doing a little bit of a deep dive into chemtrails. So, Isabella, chemtrails, what do you know about chemtrails?
Well, chemtrails, sorry, chessboard stripes on the sky that lately, for the last couple of years, they have become quite frequent, and a lot of people have begun to notice them. What are they? Why does the weather change shortly after those chessboard stripes on the sky have appeared? There are a lot of talk about chemtrails overall, and I think it's a good idea that we could do a short sort of deep dive into chemtrails. And I know Gary has a lot of information, and I will, uh, with my crystal ball and the cards, try to, peel off some layers, and maybe we will be able to get a different kind of information from the cards and the dice on what chemtrails could be and where we are going um, as people, as nature, as everything regarding the chemtrails.
Superb, superb. Thank you, Isabella. So, chemtrails. Now, we all assume that weather modification and chemtrails are obviously comes from planes these days, which is the name, but
Mm,
but there is actually patents in the patent office for weather modification, and the first one is from 1891 to make it rain. And again, on my Telegram channel and Isabella's, when this is published in our Telegram channel, because we can't put a link to it because it doesn't work that way for some reason, is that there will be a list of all the patents, and you can all click on the patents, and it'll take you to all the information. It's quite fascinating. But chemtrails, I think, were really came into the fore and developed during the Vietnam War. And there's an operation called Operation Popeye, where the American government sprayed and cloud seeded the skies and made it rain for 4 months solidly over Vietnam during the war. So certainly chemtrails have been going for some time, but as Isabella quite rightly said, in the last probably 10 or 15 years, it's become more and more noticeable, and today it's a grid system that we often get. Now, when we're talking about chemtrails, we're not talking about contrails. A contrail is a condensation trail from an aeroplane over a certain height. Now, from memory, a contrail, a condensation trail, can only happen around 18, 20,000 feet or higher. Um, the planes that we see with these chemtrails tend to be around 10 to 12,000 feet in height, and so a contrail cannot happen at such a low height. Now, obviously, these planes spray a chemical cocktail out of the back of them, create a grid, which will then spread out across the sky. Um, it'll either thicken up to the level where it can make it rain, or it will just block out the sun and we'll have another dull and dreary day. So that's a very quick overview of that. Now, the chemicals that are in chemtrails have been checked out by previous people. There's lots of evidence of this. Please do your own research. But certainly they have heavy metals in them, and two of the heavy metals that are quite prolific in this is barium and aluminium. And barium is Ba in the table, the periodic table, and aluminium is Al. And when you put barium and aluminium together, it creates Baal, Baal. Just a coincidence, that though, isn't it, Izabela?
Of course, everything is a coincidence, especially with that name. Yeah.
So that's a little overview of chemtrails. Izabela, I wonder if you could look into your crystal ball for us and see what other information or insights that the crystal ball is willing to share for us on chemtrails, please. And then
Yes.
after that, I'll have a couple of questions that hopefully we can look at the cards and we can see where we get from there. So over to you, Izabela. Thank you very much.
Yep. Well, I will concentrate on the word chemtrails and see if the crystal ball and the cards we're going to take later have some kind of inside information about the chemtrails. So just give me a few moments and soon we'll see. For chemtrails. Um, the first thing I got, and it's quite evil, really. Uh, we are all electromagnetic beings. We are all kind of biological supercomputers. We work, our nervous system works by electric impulses, electricity, how the neurons in our brain and the nerve system, how they send electrical signals to make the whole um, body work well. And we know that electricity it can be tampered with different kind of metals. And since those chemtrails contain microscopic particles of metal, different kind of metals, and through the chemtrails we inhale it, we eat it, we wash ourselves with it because when they fall down, it falls down on the earth, on the water, it's in the air, it's everywhere. And I saw it here like billions and trillions of microscopic kind of nanobots entering our body and misleading or transferring the electrical impulses of our brain, of our nervous system. And well, and it also shows me at those so-called nanobots. I call them nanobots, but it's not. It's microscopic metal particles. Like a magnet, you can move them around so they can be concentrated, for example, in the ears, in the eyes, in the brain, in the heart, wherever, because the heart is also electromagnetic big pump. And that could be, and when enough of those so-called microscopic metal things are placed inside living organisms, then they can be manipulated and moved around to create certain diseases, certain emotional outbursts or feelings or whatever. Everything from tiredness to see things maybe that do not exist, to hear things that, to affect the psyche of the living um, entity. It could be a person, could be an animal. And that is one of the reasons of chemtrails, to be able to control living organisms. And that can be controlled by certain magnetic frequencies that can be sent out through special towers or sounds, also special vibrations. It can vibrate. For example, if you have a concentrated amount of those particles in your brain and a special frequency is sent out, and that begins to vibrate in that area of the brain, then it could cause aggression or feeling of you want to commit suicide or just hopelessness or whatever. And that is very thought out and very extremely evil. And the strange thing, most of the concentration of those chemtrails has been done um, like many European countries where there are a lot of people living in small places because it's there where you want to move it. It's there where you, those people, many times highly educated, if you can call it that, they have access to internet, to TV, to this and that. And they could, if they were not dumbed down, be a force to, that could go against those evil actors that have invented this. And that's why we see a lot of, you should not listen to the people who want to have clean water, or doesn't matter what you eat, everything is okay. Listen to the government, FDA or whatever. It's nothing wrong with that food, or you don't have to filter your water because the water is clean. Trust us, we have done our tests on the water. Everything is so much bigger than we think, and it's so inter how do I say it? Intertwined? Yeah, intertwined as a super big power of control. But we also have to remember, because they show me here in the crystal ball, the human soul is pure light. And this pure light, you cannot kill. You cannot control. And when that pure light begins to shine brighter and brighter, it will override all those nanobots. And that is a little bit what we are seeing at the moment. People are waking up. The light inside of them begins to shine. And they cannot control it. Doesn't matter. Billions of liters of chemtrail they're going to put on you. That light will overcome. They didn't count on that. They really didn't count on that. They really thought they're going to have a big mass of slaves. But no, something failed in their plans because the soul, the pure love in human hearts is so much stronger than all of this. I see here in very short future, we're gonna see interviews with those that have been driving those planes, or and how they're gonna cry on live TV. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Blah, 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 blah. But they threaten my family. If I don't do this, they're gonna kill my wife, children, mother, father, whatever. So pure evil is pure evil. And many of those that may have driven those planes have been victims themselves. Not all of them are have done it for profit or money. Because if somebody holds a gun to your child's head, your survival instinct is okay. I'm gonna do it. Just don't kill my child, or whatever method they have used. Hmm? Let's see if I can see something more here. Hmm. They didn't count of the Mother Nature has a big possibility to cleaning away all those particles, since everything is a part of the periodical system, and everything have existed always, and it's just the amount that makes it toxic or not toxic. And if everything is put in harmony, then it doesn't matter if it contains this and that, because it's there already, but it just will be diluted. For example, they show me here the big nuclear reactor accident in Ukraine. What was it called now?
Chernobyl.
Chernobyl. Yeah. Animals survived. The whole area is closed off, and it was really bombarded with all kinds of radioactive stuff and toxics. But a lot of animals living there and thriving, and people eat them mushrooms and berries from that area, and they are not dead. They still live there. So nature have a great possibility to cure itself and heal itself. So we will be able to heal ourselves from this too. And since I saw this pilot crying and explaining, it means it will be highlighted and it will come to the open. And at one point, it certainly will stop also. Mm. That's what I could see here. It was disgusting little nanobots.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Is there anything else, or is that what it
No, that's
showed
what I
you?
could see at the
Yeah.
moment. If you want me to deep dive in some question,
Yep,
I will
that'd be
do it.
wonderful. That'd be
Like,
wonderful.
yeah.
One of my questions was, about the pilots actually, and would they be arrested and would they come to justice? I think you've already answered that question for
Mm,
me with the crystal ball, which is amazing. Now, one of the big questions, and certainly I did a show recently, and it was asked several times, is chemtrails, are any of them good? As in, are all chemtrails bad, or is there another force spraying chemtrails for the good? Um,
okay.
and I don't know how you'd formulate that question in your mind to get the answer on the cards, but maybe it's two questions. Is anybody spraying good chemtrails?
Okay.
And that might give us the answer to both.
Yeah. I didn't really get the weather modification in the crystal ball, but it doesn't mean it will. It also affects the weather, the chemtrails. But what the crystal ball wanted to highlight is not the weather modification, but the mind and body modification.
Yes,
And the weather modification, we can maybe take some cards on that.
of
Uh,
course.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But first, if there are any good chemtrails.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we have heard that some, yeah, the talk is going on social media that no, that they are spraying good things. Not everything is bad.
yeah, yeah. I'd like to know if the talk is correct or not.
Hmm. Is there any good? Are there any good chemtrails? Are there any good chemtrails? Are there any good chemtrails? Let's see. And some days. Um, I don't get an yes or a no answer on that, really. In the tarot cards, we have Wheel of Fortune, Queen of Swords, and Queen of Cups. And on the oracle cards, we have dog barking, advice from a friend, despair, gaining a lot of money. And then on the dice, we have one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I get it. One evil face in the background and one like smiling face in the front. So it's like a mask, someone evil who's pretending to be good. And then we have a mountain and a bridge. So with this figure on the dice, someone evil pretending to be good, I think they are sending out a signal to pretend that there are good chemtrails. No, we are working on your side. We are sending out barking. We want to be your friends. Mm. But then we have despair. Those who are putting out the chemtrails or standing behind the chemtrails, they are in despair at the moment. It's like they know that they are gonna be discovered or revealed that they are evil guys behind a mask of goodness. Why? Because they have been gaining a lot of money. It's a lot of money involved in this. Everything is always about money. And here is also money. Um, I would not say that the chemtrails at the moment are super toxic. Maybe they have put down the level of toxic. Maybe they have some different kind of composition. I don't think they are so toxic as they were like during a couple of years ago. And they are less because it could be that a lot of them have been stopped or that they cannot find the material enough of the toxins to put in them, but they still have to do it because they are in despair. They are losing control. Mhm. Yeah, that would be my answer. I don't know if it's enough, but
No, that makes perfect sense to me. So there's two things that have come to mind. I had to write them down because I knew I'd forget. The crystal ball, you spoke about behavior of them. So when we get chemtrails, it affects our behavior. Now, for those of you who can remember the pop star Prince, the singer Prince, he did an interview years ago where he said that when he was in, I think it was New York, doesn't matter where he was, that he observed chemtrails coming over on planes, and half an hour later, everybody in his neighborhood was fighting each other. And so I wonder if what your cards were saying there was they're not so toxic because now they're concentrating on our behaviors. So I wonder if we could change that slightly to do chemtrails have more of an effect on behavior than health these days? Would that
okay.
be a valid question?
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you can control the masses' behavior, oh my God, then you are a very big king, very influential.
Very much so.
Is it more concentrated on behavior than health? That's maybe why it comes up on the behavior in the crystal ball. And I guess in Minnesota they had a lot of chemtrails. Sorry, I just had to mention
I agree.
it. Is it more constant? Oh, oh my God, what fell out? The snake. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, really wanted to come out. What about the behavior here? Oh yeah. Oh, it cannot be more. Mhm. Yeah. I'm gonna say to you here in the tarot card we have Four of Swords, the High Priestess, and Ten of Wands. On the dice we have a clock, two people fighting, and this kind of cogwheels that goes, into each other. A long way, a snake, and family room. Mm. On the behavior, I would definitely say yes. It affects the primordial brain, centers of the brain, the reptile brain, the snake brain. That is fight or flight, people fighting. Mm. And the behavior also to make people uh, go into apathy, no, really have no power or force or, you know, the energy to do anything. Just watch soap operas, stupid TV shows. Mm? And here is being burdened down, feeling aches and pains and tiredness. And oh no, not today. I don't have the strength. Stop the wheels from turning. So they can make people fight, but they can also make people apathic. And that goes into the family, into the not only the masses, but the close circles of people, family, children, mother, father, the family union, everywhere. So yeah, I would
That's
say yes.
huge.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. I wasn't expecting that.
mm,
So that, clearly they've adjusted what they're using in the chemicals
mm,
to create division via the frequency of
yep,
the chemicals and disrupt people's. It's almost like they disrupt the hormonal balance of people, isn't it?
yep. Because imagine those who have been taking a lot of this, eating a lot of junk food, drinking a lot of poison, soft drinks and all kinds of poison. They are easier to control, to do, or to behave in a certain way. So
Yeah,
everything is, planned in the smallest details. First, we're going to poison them. We change the food. We're going to medicate them so they are half zombies. And then we're going to spray this. And then we're going to do that. And then we're going to put out a lot of towers, a lot of LED lights, a lot of this, a lot of that. That is. controlled by frequency, electromagnetic, whatever. And then you are the king of the crowd,
Yeah,
or kings, or whoever is behind this.
that makes a lot of sense. And also the fact that they tend to be spraying in a block across the most populated areas of the
Mm.
world.
Yeah.
And that would make perfect sense about what you said about um, the people in the cities and so if they changed the cocktail element of what they're spraying over a particular city, and you mentioned Minnesota, there are other cities available for this kind
Yeah.
of
That
act
was
as
just
well.
an example because we have seen the craziness that goes on there. Mm.
If you imagine if you have a few paid agitateurs with the right kind of chemical cocktail that's been sprayed over the people over a period of time, you could create certain situations very easily.
Because those people that are so affected, people, I don't know if they are people, are so affected, you cannot talk to them. They are shut off. The logical explanation or logical thinking does not enter into their. It's like they are shut off. All logical thinking is shut off.
Something that I've just come in has come in as a question, and again, I wasn't expecting to ask this one, and don't want to be dismissive of people, but I wonder if this has a greater effect on non-source players,
Oh.
NPCs.
Mm.
I don't wish to be rude in that respect, but we have to. So we have source players who have got a stronger connection to source,
And that's why I saw the light, the soul shining. It cannot be affected.
but have they developed a way? I'm getting goosebumps on this. Have they developed a way to hook into those without that such bright light inside them to
Mm.
be able to control them in the way they need?
Yeah. Oh my God. I
Yeah,
I get the shivers here.
me too.
Ooh. Suddenly a cold wind was blowing here. Yeah, have they found out a way to control the non-player characters? Hmm. And here we have Page of Wands, King of Wands, Four of Wands. On the oracle cards, we have two swans and a heart, self-awareness, mature woman, someone digging a hole, person with a dollar sign in it, and a cactus. But the card says those that have love, self-awareness, mature, they cannot be affected. But they have found a way. Yeah, they're digging a hole for those NPCs. Uh, and the cactus is growing in the desert and have big spines. It doesn't really answer it, but oh, here comes the snake again. So yeah, I would say yes. They have.
Yeah,
Because we have the money sign in the center and we have the book, a book. They have a knowledge through money how to affect, but they cannot affect the self-aware, the mature, the one with love in their soul. And they're affecting through media also, because the TV set, yeah, and they have a frequency that everything is on a frequency. Your telephone vibrates on a frequency. Every time you watch a news station, there could be a sound, there could be some quick images that will trigger something that will shut off the logical thinking. Wealthy ban. Yeah, they are the wealthy people that are doing this. Mm. Money, wealthy ban. And the snake. So yeah, it's a very sneaky, very dirty business, this one. And the self-aware, we are watching this, and we cannot understand how people can be acting so stupid. Why do they not see? Of course, they have too much ball in their system.
I wasn't expecting to go down that route today, I have to say,
No,
and it
not
wasn't
me
part of my
either.
questions at all. And it just shows how, when you start to look into something a little bit more deeply, how it can guide you
Mm.
into different directions. Um, I'm quite blown away by that, actually.
Yeah, me too, because I still have the images from the crystal ball here and all the gatherings of the particles in different parts of. They can even induce, because I hear we can induce heart infarcts like this, because the frequency, oh, then the particles will gather around the heart and shut off the heart. Enough of them, an electrical impulse, boom, the heart is gone.
I think, I mean, one of the big questions that came out as well from my show, people left questions in the comments, and was the effects of nature, but you've kind of covered that already. But what I want to go and ask a direct question of is, and this is something that I see in my pendulum indicated, is is this effect that we've just come up and we've just seen this effect, is this effect only available in the 3D?
Yeah, of course. That's, yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, if we were in the 5D now, would we be seeing that? Because I don't think we would be. Because I think what we're talking about here is a specific three-dimensional technology or problem.
Mm. Let's take some cards. If this is a specific 3D dimensional problem, or yeah, this exists here.
Yeah, here, only here,
Yeah,
in this frequency now. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we have the fox. The trickery is here. The pain, three of sword. The sorrow is here. The greed is here, because they will have one collecting money. And it's really six of wands. It's also telling that it's belonging here. It's the success of the 3D. So if we are experiencing pain, greed, trickery, and see the wealthy still like succeeding, then we are still in the 3D. We have not moved on to 5D. Uh, but this is on the last in the pile. The 5D would be like a gate, a big gate, golden gate that is open, welcoming. We can almost hear the music. We can see people thriving and smiling and living good lives. But we are on the path to that gate. We can see it. We are still not there, but it's there. We are, for every day, for every minute, for every second, we are approaching closer and closer to 5D, five-dimensional frequency. And this three-dimensional frequency that we all experience, since we still, all of us, have pain and aches, have to pay our bills, see people and animals suffering, and we are frustrated because we feel we don't belong here. We belong there, but we are still here. But the knowing, the light, is pulling us there because it's there where we, that's our home, not this one. We are, I say, detaching ourselves from it.
Yeah.
Unto a certain point, then I'm gonna be sucked in to the 5D.
Yeah. No, the analogy I've used recently is that we're in the tunnel, and
Yeah,
actually we're right at the end of the tunnel, and the light is all around us, but we
yeah,
haven't actually left the tunnel yet. We're right on the edge of all the lights there, but we haven't taken the step to leave the tunnel fully behind us and go into the new. How can I put it as we have a bottle of wine. We've taken the cork out. We can smell the wine, but we haven't poured it into the
yeah,
glass yet.
yeah, yeah.
And so the glass or the wine bottle represents the 3D control mechanism. The cork's out of the bottle, so we can smell and taste almost the 5D, but the liquid inside that needs to be poured out is still contained within the 3D
Mm,
parameters.
yeah. Not for so long. Even if it looks like very gloomy and doomy, and you know, one thing after another comes out, how they try to poison us, kill us, control us, da da da. But that is not where we are staying. We will leave that behind in one way or another. Exactly how the procedure will be done, if it's non-terrestrial or terrestrial beings that we don't know about, and in what way, we cannot be for sure. The procedure, how that change is gonna happen, but the outcome is already presented for us. And if we are concentrated on the outcome, the sooner we will reach it. Because if we all the time gonna look back, then we're not never gonna move forward.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I only see good outcomes. I only see positivity. And it's very interesting that when we do a show like this, it actually brings to the fore their skullduggery and their trickery and
Mhm.
just how devious and dark they really have been and are being currently. And the fact that we can see this quite clearly and the cards indicate this so clearly, for me, means that we're shining light onto these subjects that then mean that they don't, it's not something we need to worry about anymore and
Mm,
concern ourselves about, because the thing that I took from this, as much as you said, was that our inner light burns this away,
yeah.
and our connection with our inner light into the 5D light, you know, we're connected. We
Mm,
just have to go through the physicality of the body moving into this zone now, and for us to
mm,
truly go from the 3D, where we still are, I believe, to the 5D in its entirety. And at that point, everything that's been done to us will fall away.
yeah.
So, as Isabella quite rightly said, all the aches, the pains, the poisons that we've been given, all the toxins that have built up in our bodies, when we get into the 5D, will be purged from us, and we will be a different, the same, but a different kind of physicality as we are today.
Mm. And what belonged to the 3D will not be allowed to enter, or it will be totally erased. Like this frequency will never be able to exist again. Like poof, totally gone. And everything will vibrate that is left on 5D, because allowing a 3D realm to continue will still um, affect all the other, and still being sending out toxic frequencies and toxic whatever they're sending out. So I think when that decision is made, then the 3D will be gone completely in
Yeah,
in all forms, in every single cell. I
yeah,
don't know how to explain that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Every single nanoparticle of
yeah,
it
yeah.
will be stopped. Hence the wine bottle analogy. Everybody, you know, we're in a sealed container at the moment. We can't get out, but the bottles, the cork's gone, and we can see and we know that we're going to get out. It's just a case at the moment we're still within the constraints of the control mechanism of the 3D. And as once we've got out, that bottle will be no more. It'll collapse.
Mm,
It'll go.
yeah. It will be melted and buried and shattered.
I really have no more questions, Isabella,
Mm,
because you know, that's answered for me something that I hadn't even considered. So for me, I'm kind of all out of ideas and
yeah.
very happy. How about you? Is there any last words for
Yeah,
you?
the chemtrails and weather modification, we know all, because you mentioned that it was created to change weather, to make it cloudy, rainy, and yeah. But it also was, according to the cards and crystal ball, meant to be something on a very much deeper level. Mm,
Yeah, yeah. So very, very interesting and food for thought, everybody,
yeah.
and something that we can also be mindful of. So if they've been chemtrailing and then we start to feel a little bit titchy with our loved ones, perhaps now we'll know why.
Yeah. Or a couple of um, activated
Charcoal. Yeah,
charcoal tablets could put it, help to draw out some of those heavy metal stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Epsom baths and all these lovely things that we can do to look after ourselves. And remember, we're in charge of ourselves and we can do lots of lovely things for ourselves, you know, sound baths or having baths or making sure we get out in nature and hug a tree
Yeah.
and be one, you know. It's we have lots of options available to us to break this system and the chains around us, mental or otherwise.
To feed the light, to make it burn even stronger, because the NPCs don't have that light.
Yeah.
They are all darkness.
Yeah. Which is why they can affect the collective consciousness in the way they are currently.
Yeah, but not for long. You can say, "Oh, bye bye" to it.
Well, with that, everybody, I think it's goodbye time. But before I go, I'd just like to say thank you very much for all the new subscribers that I've got. I really do appreciate you all and welcome aboard to my channel. And Isabella's um, persuasion, I'm going to say persuasion, on me putting subtitles in on all my shows really is starting to help. And so thank you very much for your very, very good sound advice on that, Isabella. And
Love it.
thank you, everybody. So please, everybody, if you haven't subscribed to Isabella, please do so. Tarot by Isabella. And if you haven't subscribed to me, please do so. It helps a lot. And I'm alternative interaction. So with that, everybody, bye bye.
Bye bye.